Hola, culés! What's going on, boys? Today came out from Fabrizio Romano himself that Barcelona are going to be signing another player, which is wild to see them actually doing business and doing business maybe well. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about it, and we're just going to get into it today and talk a little bit about who Roony Bardghji, probably butchering that name, who he is, what he has done throughout his career, and where he might fit for Barcelona, and also why I think this is a really, really good step in the step in the right direction for my team and our team going forward. First and foremost, though, let's try and meet who Roony Bardghji is, and I'll give you guys some background on who he is and where he plays and everything. So, as you can see here, that's how you spell his last name. I don't know how to pronounce it. And this is FIFA Club World Cup advertisements because nobody's going to those games. That's a mess. That's a video in and of itself if you want, but I don't want to talk about it. The point is here, Roony is 19 years old, plays for the FC Copenhagen, whatever. He has been there for a couple of years. I've actually watched him play, not in person, but I watched him against United last season, I believe, when they came back and beat United in incredible fashion. Roony Bardghji actually scored the winner in that match, and is overall, I think, a very exciting player. He's been highly touted in Sweden and I guess in Denmark for a little while. A lot of people have called him the Swedish Messi. That's kind of just any talented dribbling right winger from any smaller country will get that name. I remember back in the day, Lorenzo Insigne got it for Italy. I guess that's not a smaller country necessarily, but it's kind of just given out whenever there's an exciting young player that dribbles and is short. He's not that short though, 5'9", I believe, so 173. Not tiny, but smaller than Lamine Yamal, who is I think closer to 5'11 now, might even be taller than that. He provides a little bit of depth on the right wing, and then he can play all over the pitch. The main point from what I've seen, every clip that I've seen of him being actually impactful at a higher level, he's on the right wing, and he's a big shooter. He likes to take shots, he likes to rip at goal, and he likes to take players on one-on-one and run into space here. Actually, I will bring up these highlights for you guys in a second, but he's a talented player. For all intents and purposes, he is a good player. I think there was a lot of potential for him. Here's some highlights for everybody. We can watch this together here for a second from Scout Nation. He is just turn the audio off. He's just a talented dribbler on the right wing. The problem here is that he has actually been out recently due to an unknown injury, according to Transfermarkt. But yeah, he can take players on. He can run into space. Not the most creative player. Doesn't grab up a ton of assists, and for a club like Barcelona, I think that's interesting. But yeah, you can see here the guy taking on people pretty well here, running into space, finding a position to shoot, like the way Lamine Yamal does. Obviously, probably almost certainly not going to be as effective as Lamine is because most players aren't, but has a really good shot on his left, has a very strong right foot from what I've seen, which is his weak foot. And I think overall, he's not going to walk into this first team, not even challenge. Like, obviously, most players won't challenge Lamine, but he won't even take minutes off Lamine unless he develops over time. I'm not exactly sure how quick that'll happen as well because he has had some issues recently. He just came off an ACL injury that started May of last year, and he did return this season for a little while, and then you could see that here when you go to this season. He came back to play for a very brief period, played, didn't score, didn't really assist, didn't do a ton, 70 minutes, 71 minutes, 45 minutes, 34 minutes, and then he was on the bench again before getting another unknown injury. I'm not exactly sure what that is. And for that reason, there's a little bit of an unknown here about what Barcelona are getting and what kind of form he's going to be in. He is 19 years old. We saw Florian Wirtz recover wonderfully from an ACL injury. Gavi is still warming back into football and to a much different team that isn't as reliant on Gavi as they once were, right? Under Xavi, Gavi had much more responsibility, had to do a lot more, and so there was just a lot more, I guess, eyes on him or times for him to prove himself. Rooney's not going to get a ton of that at Barcelona this season. I think he's going to be splitting time between Barca Athletic and the first team and trying to figure it out. Again, not the most creative player, but Barca Athletic needs some more scorers, and Danny Rodriguez is always getting injured. He's kind of been one of those guys touted to come up. We've also got Guy Fernandez, who's I think more of an attacking midfielder, I believe. and the other Fernandez brother. So there's a lot of talent there. I don't think having more depth up there is a problem, and I really, really don't think it's a problem when he's only 2.5 million euros. His market value has risen all the way up to 9 million in the past, but after these injuries, it's gone down a little bit, and Barcelona were able to get him on a little more of a deal because his contract ends with Copenhagen at the end of this season. So they're obviously trying to offload him, trying to get money for him before he goes on a free, and that's exactly what happened, right? Barcelona kind of were able to sneak a pretty highly touted player from a team that probably would have hoped to keep him for a little bit longer and that's, I mean, great for us, right? This, again, the thumbnail says low risk for a reason, because they didn't play a lot, because he didn't cost a lot of money, because he isn't being, apparently I saw some reports saying that 10 other clubs were looking for him, but I can't imagine that's true, because I don't think he would have cost only 2.5 million if 10 other clubs were looking at him. But the main point here is that they're only risking 2.5 million euros, and yes, there's a sell-on clause and all of that. So if Barcelona do sell him elsewhere, they will make some money. But the main idea here for me is that it gives us kind of a guy in a very similar profile to Lamine. He's going to be significantly less creative for others, most likely, but who knows how that develops for a better team, for a team where maybe you don't need to be the guy that has to shoot, or the spotlight's not going to be on him. Maybe that changes the way he plays, and I have no reason to believe it can't, but we have to see how he develops into Spanish football. We've seen that be a little bit of an issue for guys like Noah Darvic coming from Germany and trying to adapt to the play style in Catalonia. It's different football. And the main here excitement for me is that Lamine might have somebody to back him up, and actually some point during the season be able to sit on the bench. Hey, this is a game against Getafe. We're beating Madrid by 7 points. We can relax a little bit here. Not relax, but, we can sub Lamine out, rely more on Nico Williams on the left, and bring in Roony to kind of give a similar profile to Lamine and allow the Barcelona team, to play in a similar style. That's a big thing we didn't really have this season, where whenever someone went out, it would take a few games to get back into a groove, into a rhythm, into figuring out how to play together, because they had to play significantly differently. Barcelona were so reliant on Rafinha and his runs, but then, we saw Fermin kind of really step into that role and understand it in a way that, okay, Rafinha could kind of not play, and we have guys like Dani Olmo and Fermin that can kind of deputize that in a decent way. But when Balde went out, right, we don't have a good option for when Balde's out. When Koundé went out, it took Eric Garcia a little while, but Eric Garcia looked really good there because he could adapt to a similar play style as Koundé. Wasn't a perfect substitution, and Roony definitely won't be for Lamine, but the main point is having a player that can somewhat back up Lamine Yamal and do a similar style for the team, so that the team can go and play on the left side in the same way, go play centrally in a similar way. Obviously, it's not going to be the same. Lamine draws defenders more than Roony Bardghji will, especially at the beginning. But being able to, again, replicate that is incredibly important for the side. And it's also, this kind of low-risk signing is something Barcelona have absolutely sucked at for years. Like actually been really, really bad at making these low-risk signings. They in recent history, there are a few. Pau Victor is kind of one of them. When we snacked him up from Girona, I think that was on a free, I believe. No, it wasn't on a free, I don't think. Pablo Torre is a similar young signing, but again, these guys haven't proven really anything significant for the team, haven't really solidified their place. Yeah, Barcelona just don't make these young signings well. They don't really fill gaps in their team with young signings unless they come from La Masia. I'm thinking of the Mexican-American guy that came from LAFC, I believe, who was playing fullback. He had Julian something. What's his name? I forgot his name. He, was in the celebrations, was supposed to play fullback for us, and then, came in for 5 million and then left immediately the next summer. So Gino Dest was 20 million euros, and he was 18, a fullback that had potential, but it was such a waste because Barcelona just don't have, a lot of times, have very good footing to make these young signings, and maybe don't have the best scouting. I don't know exactly what's up with that. But the main point here is that this, even if it doesn't come to anything, I think it's a good sign that Barcelona is looking to fill those gaps instead of filling the gaps with 30-year-old major wage signings that, yeah, sure, might be more of a proven player, but don't have much of a future with the club. I'm thinking Gundogan, I Arturo Vidal when they signed him back in the day, Lewandowski even, it just filling in a spot in their squad. Now, be it a less important one, not a starter in Rooney's case, but doing so with a young player that's not expensive, won't be on high wages, I think is great, especially in this time. Just having more players at that position, because we didn't really have any, I guess, right? With the Nico signing, it gave us the option to kind of have a little bit of depth on the right if Nico wanted to slide over, or you wanted Rafinha to play on the right and to try and like transfer your play style to more just the opposite side, where Rafinha is now inverting from the right. Nico Williams is holding the width on the left, like instead of the opposite with Lamine and Rafinha on the other side. I think it's just a great signing overall. Whether or not he develops into a great player for Barcelona, I think taking advantage of a player that has a lot of potential and that can do a similar job to Lamine is more than enough for me. And if he plays a couple matches for Barcelona, has maybe a bit bigger role than Pablo Torre had last season, I think that would be my, if you guys want a gauge of kind of if this is going to be successful, or looking back on the season, will it be successful? I think that's a real telltale point, is comparing him to Pau Victor and Pablo Torre this past year to see how well he did. I think if he can get more minutes than at least Pablo Torre, but Pau Victor as well, I think that would be insane for this team. But I think that's already high expectations. And if he just plays for Barca Athletic for a little while, helps them get promoted again, because I think they got relegated this year, I think that'll be positive. They'll be able to sell him for 5 to 10 million in a couple of years. And again, he's only 19. Not a high-risk signing. Love things like this, and I think it's great for us. It's a good signing for us. And as long as we get Nico Williams over the line, which I think is supposed to happen next week at some point, the end of next week, I'm sitting pretty. I'm happy. We'll have a good time. And yeah, I'm going to keep doing updates and talks about stuff like this as they come up. And if you guys have topics that you want me to talk about, maybe I'll step into it. But overall, yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for chatting with me and hanging out, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace, everybody.